It's the B98.5 Morning Show with Mateo and Lenny, here with AEW superstar QT Marshall.
How are we doing?
Hey, welcome home.
Oh, yeah, it's great to be home. Yeah, I'm excited. I haven't been home since the world kind of shut down, so a lot of family to visit. I know there's going to be meet and greets. I got my 8x10s ready because I know that's going to happen. Some random neighbors showing up, and they all have kids that are all of a sudden giant wrestling fans, so pretty excited for it.
Hopefully they bring some food. Like, what do you miss by not being in New Jersey anymore?
Bagels. Yeah, I miss bagels, pork roll, egg, and cheese, all that. Not that I can eat it anyway because, I just can't tell anyone about it.
Do you freeze it and bring it home, or because you are a New Jersey native and now you're in Georgia?
No, I eat everything right on site.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no bringing it back. It's just all right there.
Wrappers in the car, yeah.
Man, maybe you should find a smuggler to bring you bagels.
For real, right? Yeah, right now I'm stuck on Thomas frozen bagels, so...
Could you imagine like a Prohibition era where you're a bagel runner from Jersey all over the country?
I've done that to Florida. The last time I brought my friend bagels, they're like, these bagels are terrible. You have to bring us some.
It's the water. So I used to work in Freehold at this restaurant, and right next door was Brooklyn Bagels, it's called, and the guys would bring their water from Staten Island, which is weird because it was called Brooklyn. But anyway, they would bring the water every day to make the bagels, and that's why the bagels ended up tasting so much better. So
how do you transport all that water? Just put it in gallons and then bring it into the...
Because he had an AMG, little convertible Mercedes, so I don't know how they did it, but I don't ask. They were a little... I didn't want to get too involved with those guys,
Gotcha. So we do want to talk about AEW now.
Cool.
It is I don't want to say alternative to WWE, but it's the next mainstream company now. You play a big part in it. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so AEW, you were right. It is an alternative. Wrestling fans have been looking for an alternative since WCW closed in 2001.
It's about 20 years.
20 years,
time.
man. And, WWE kind of monopolized, and they kind of just told you what wrestling was, which is not the case. Wrestling is supposed to be fun. The crowds are supposed to enjoy it. And we have some of the greatest fans in the world because we have our new fans, but also like the lapsed wrestling fan, right? So the ones that when I go tell people that I'm a wrestler and they say, I used to watch that. I say, well, why don't you watch it anymore? And then they give me their reasons. I said, well, you got to watch AEW, right? Because we're doing all the stuff that we loved because it's wrestling ran by a wrestling fan, Tony Khan, who's our boss. He's the owner, but he's a giant wrestling fan. He's been writing wrestling shows in his notebook since he's 12 years old. So the fact that he's able to live out his dream owning a company, and then the other EVPs are wrestlers. So it's just wrestling ran by, wrestlers and wrestling fans. So, it's amazing. It's the fastest 2 hours every week on Wednesday night on Dynamite, on TNT. I got my foot in the door as an assistant getting coffee. I had been wrestling for a very long time. I opened up a training facility, and then I started training Cody Rhodes' wife, Brandy. And for free, of course, because I wasn't going to charge her $20 to come in. I play the long game.
Gotcha. It seems like it's working out.
Yeah, 100%.
Tips here.
Yeah. So don't try to pick up those pennies when the big money is just like 10 feet away. You just got to go get that. So anyway, I started training her, and then when AEW started, Cody was like, "Hey, I get an assistant as part of my job, and I think you would be best for it because you're really passionate about this and." You can help me and yada, yada, yada. And I'm thinking like, man, I've never written a formal email in my life. Like, okay. So
Let's circle back to that, please.
Yeah. So then, one thing led to another. And as a startup company, there's just a lot of jobs that no one thinks about. How are we going to have everyone's music license? Are we going to do this? And so I just started doing it and doing it and doing it. And, that starter job just... Finally, I kind of had like what we call the Jerry Maguire moment where I flipped out, but in a good way of just like, hey, I can do so much more than getting coffee. And I want to. Like, I love this. If I'm going to get coffee, I'll just go work at, some random office building 5 minutes from my house. You know what I mean? And they were like, so Cody just told me, hey, write down the job you want. We'll see if it can happen, blah, blah, blah. And they were able to accommodate. And little by little, I just kept climbing further and further up. And now I'm like, the boss's right-hand man. I won't use the word assistant because there's times where like we're at TV and, with his other, especially in Jacksonville, he has the luxury of hanging out at the Jaguar Stadium in his office over there. So there's times at TV where he won't get there until, 3 or 4 o'clock. And I'm kind of the liaison to kind of all of his messages go through me, and it goes to the production team and to the talent and this, that, and the other. And I remember one day, like, one of our guys behind the scenes was just like, when did this happen? Like, you were getting coffee. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, but I'm excited for it, you know?
So are you guys all big Jaguars fans now?
We have to be. Yeah.
You have no choice.
So, I mean, I'm a Giants fan anyway, so I don't believe, I'm not a huge football fan, but I did grow up a Giants fan. So the other night, actually, in Jacksonville, we've been doing this bit where I'll come out about 4 minutes before the show, 4 or 5 minutes before we go live, and I'll just start what we call getting heat from the crowd. I'll just get them all riled up. And in Jacksonville, I was like, what can I say? He was like, say you're a Titans fan and, you know, whatever. So, and then he'll come out and I'll play dumb. Like, as soon as he walks out, I'll be like, oh my God, it's Tony. I was just saying how much I love the Jaguar. Like, trying to have a good time. And then he'll kick me out. And then he'll be like, hey, we're going to go live in 2 minutes, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, we have to be Jaguars fans. We go to Jaguars games, which is really cool, especially during the, you know, while we were stuck in Jacksonville for, man, we were there for over a year every week. So that was pretty cool. But yeah.
So in the training facility, what characteristics do you look for in the wrestlers that you're training?
Could we be wrestlers?
I
Yeah.
have
what you're getting?
I have the personality for
Right.
one, you know. I don't know
100%.
if I have the physical ability.
So that's the biggest misconception. Physical ability, because it is wrestling, we can pick and choose what we do, right? And I say that about injuries too. I'm as old school as they come. Of course, company man says, if you're injured, let us know. You'll never know if I'm injured, because I just don't want to leave TV, right? Like, this is my dream job. So it's like, well, my knee hurts. Well, stay away from my knee, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't make me run as much or stuff like that. So we do, at the school, we look for personality, 100%. Wrestling, I say, is kind of the job that if you're in the mall and you trip and you get embarrassed, wrestling's not for you. Because that's what we do, literally. You know, we slip and fall, we have fun and all this stuff. So we look for that. Of course, we look for, you know, just overall good human beings now. I say now because the wrestling business was tainted for a very long time. And, you know, it can't be, especially with social media and this, that, and the other. And the skeletons will always come out. And then just hard workers, because we can teach you how to wrestle. It's pretty simple. We, as wrestlers, make it very difficult sometimes when we're trying to do 100 different things in a 6-minute wrestling match. But yeah, we just look for that. And of course, if you have some athletic ability, it helps. And if you're a wrestling fan, it really helps. If you're not a fan, it's like trying to teach you a foreign language. So
So
he
there's
did
promise.
train. He did train Shaq.
I did.
Yeah.
And Shaq, huge wrestling fan. So he came in and he knew what he wanted to do. He knew the names of the moves. He knew what they looked like. He didn't know how to perfect them, but that was easy, you know. It only took him powerbombing me on my head once to figure out, oh, if I just squat down a little bit, I could land them flat, you know.
So now that you're teaching wrestling, how did you get into it? How did this all start? Because I feel like I loved wrestling growing up, had no idea how to get into it.
Right. So my mom was good friends with this lady named Dawn Marie, who was in ECW, and then she was in WWE. She taught her how to bartend. And we went to an independent show down in Wall Township, and she saw her, and she was like, oh my God, that's Dawn Marie. And I'm like, you know this beautiful woman? Like, I was 12, you know this girl? My mom was like, yeah, come on, let's go meet her or whatever. So then as I got older and I told her this is actually what I wanted to do, she called Dawn, and Dawn said, well, there's wrestling schools, but the Monster Factory Wrestling School is probably one of the best ones. And that was it. So I went there, and then it's kind of like acting. You just, you learn your fundamentals, but then you got to get out there. You got to get your name out there and all that stuff. And then by the time I was 24, I had wrestled, all up and down the East Coast. I was in Puerto Rico doing stuff. And then I signed with Ring of Honor Wrestling at the age of 25. And I wasn't a huge fan of that place, only because the pay wasn't, I'm thinking, oh my God, I signed as a wrestler. Yeah. And then they're like, yeah, it's $150 a match. Like, what? I drive a brand new Cadillac. Dude.
I need that extra zero.
Yeah, I was working at Disney, at Planet Hollywood waiting tables. So I'm making $400 or $500 a night sometimes. I can't. But it's my dream. But it was a little rough patch for me to kind of understand how it all worked and stuff like that. But yeah, and then I got hurt. I have 6 screws in my neck right now. So yeah, I've never.
In the back?
It's in the back, but they go through the front. So there's a scar here. That's why I cover it up with the chain. And so I have those screws, and I was like, you know what? Maybe wrestling in the ring isn't for me, because I did some stuff with WWE, and then they found out about the screws, and it was like there's a whole documentary about it, right? And so I was like, all right, maybe I'll start coaching. So I went back to the Monster Factory. I was selling tools with Snap-on tools. My stepfather had he just retired, but he had 3 Snap-on routes. So I was like helping him out and kind of running the business with him. And I was doing the coaching on the side at the Monster Factory, kind of volunteering. And then I realized, like, man, I hate this job. Like, it's very good. I make really good money, but I just can't do this every day for the rest of my life. I think I'm here for something else. And so I just told my wife, like, hey, let's move. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, let's move to Atlanta. She's like, why? I was like, there's wrestling's bad down there, so I think we can help, change it a little bit. And it just pure coincidence that Cody Rhodes had just moved there as well. He had just quit WWE, and then we kind of like met each other at Ring of Honor because I went back there. Part of the deal was I would do Women of Honor commentary, which I've never done before, but I kind of know how to speak, right? I won most talkative in high school. I can figure this out.
You seem to be doing fine now.
Yeah, I'm a talkaholic. So we did that, and but the deal was I would do Women of Honor commentary, but I would also sit in the production meetings, and I would kind of figure out the backstage stuff. And that's when I met Cody and, met Brandy as well, and now we're here.
So where's the action figure?
So
I want one.
I just got scanned not too long ago. So I'm excited. My mom is like every week. I don't understand. This guy's action figure came out, and I'm like, yeah, they're huge stars, Mom. She's like, well, you're a star. I'm like, yeah, to you. You know what I mean? Now, granted, when I'm on TV, the ratings do well, so that's a plus. But I finally just got scanned. The first batch of scans were done in 2019. I wasn't a wrestler then. So I missed the scanning and I missed the concussion protocol. So I always say, like, well, if I concuss someone, like, Cody, you told me I wasn't going to be a wrestler.
It's not on me.
So it's not on me. It's on you guys, I've done the concussion protocol since, and, I try not to hurt anybody. So
that's got to be so cool. Dream come true as a little kid, seeing your own action figure.
Oh, yeah. So I was on this action figure podcast not too long ago, and I didn't realize, like, wrestling fans have kind of changed. So, like, I'm a wrestling fan, but I'm like a jock and, this, that, and the other. It's kind of been more like nerd culture.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't know that, right? Because I'm just oblivious to, if it's not baseball or wrestling that I'm doing, I don't really pay attention to anything, which isn't good at all. But I've been learning because Cody is big on pop culture. So I really try to ask him, and I kind of look at him as a mentor, even though we're the same age. And so I went on this podcast, and ever since I was on that podcast, the action figure podcast, I've been getting these DMs with people making custom action figures. So I'm going to have like 10 custom action figures. They're not, just for me. And I'll just be in my office, which I got to make one day. And so I'm excited. But when I get the actual action figure, I told Tony, our boss, I don't care. I know you do, but I don't care if I sell 1 or 1,000. I just need one for my mom and one for me. That's it. He was like, okay, well, that's not a good business model. I was like, yeah, I know,
The little things in life that are going to make
that's
you
all I
happy.
care about, man,
It's everyone's stocking stuffer for Christmas.
Right.
That's exactly
Yes.
what it is. So you need more than 2.
That's true. Yeah, I need that's what's going to happen. I'm going to have to buy them all and give them away. 'Cause I know how it works in wrestling, I have a lot of favors to be asked. Literally every week, can you mail us some pictures? I'm thinking like, I gotta go to the post office or UPS. It takes a lot of time to do all this stuff, so I always forget. So my wife has been good about, like, I'll just sign them and give her the addresses, and she kind of takes care of them. So
You gotta stamp them. You gotta
it's
dress
just way
them.
too much work. Just come meet me at a meet and greet. You know what I mean? Like last night I did a meet and greet, and as I was leaving the building, this guy was like, "Hey, can I take a picture with you?" And for 2 reasons, I said no. 1, I'm a bad guy. 2, you had 3 hours to get a meet and greet thing with me, and my line wasn't as big as the other guys, right? I did well, but not as well as, like, to the point where you couldn't get my autograph or take a picture with me. Also, the promoter paid me to do these things. So I told him, like, hey, I can't, unfortunately, like, that money is the promoter's. And if I take a picture with you for free, like, that's stealing from the promoter. I was trying to use logic, and I don't know why. This guy was probably
You should have went full bad guy. Just told him to get lost.
Stay in character.
Yeah.
I didn't want it. But then when I finally told him that, he was like, my friend said you were cool. You're a POS. And I'm thinking, like, so I finally just mouthed off to him, and then I grabbed security. Hey, can you welcome me to my hotel? I don't want to get jumped,
Yeah. Is it hard to work as a bad guy? I'm sure everyone wants to get cheered, but you're going out there looking for booze.
So I think right now, because everybody gets their own T-shirt store on Pro Wrestling Tees, and they all want to sell merch and this, that, and the other, no one wants to get booed. I genuinely want to get booed because, one, like, when I leave the arena, I'm so, like, just done with the day. The last thing I want to do is talk to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want to kind of I am a people person, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, like,
You just worked a full day.
I just worked a full day.
You need to sit on
know?
that couch.
Yeah, I just want to go to the hotel and relax. Other people are going to go out and party because most of them, all they do is they just wrestle. They come to the building, they have an 8-minute wrestling match, and they leave. My day starts at 9 a.m. texting the production people and getting everything in line and rewriting the formats and all this stuff. So it's a hectic day. I mean, by TV day, people know to stay away from me. They're like, people just walk up like, excuse me, do you think it's possible? I'm like, what do you want? And then I'm like, I'm just kidding. What's up? And
they're like also timid.
Yeah, and I'm like, you guys
"Hi."
I'm a wrestler first. You know what I mean? And like, so if they want to pitch storylines or something, like I can't say yes to anything, but I can bring it to Tony or I can bring it to some of the other bosses. And I don't know why we have such an open door policy. I don't know why no one wants to just go to like the other. I'll ask Tony for anything. Like, hey, can I be world champ? You know what I mean? Like, and we talk about stuff, and he's just very open and honest. So there's no reason to not. But I guess it's just. A lot of people have worked for WWE before, and I guess there's such a system you have to go through to get things approved and stuff like that. So they come to me, and I'm just like, sure, yeah, whatever you want to do. Like, well, I'll go tell them, write it down. Please just write it down, send it to me. This way I don't mess up your pitch and all that stuff. So I'm learning as we go. I mess up all the time.
It seems more family-oriented than WWE.
Yes, it is. It is a huge fan. I mean, Tony is the greatest boss ever, literally. During all of our stays in Jacksonville, we'd come back from the show. They'd always have like one room rented out in the hotel. And I mean, local talent was invited back. Literally, there's just heaters of food, steaks, salmon. I mean,
you guys are eating good.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what's going on here? And the boss, the other boss, like our financial guy was like, he just wants everyone to be happy. He's like, he doesn't, you guys are all working during a pandemic, you're traveling, you're risking your lives, and then you're risking your life again in the ring. Like, he just wants everyone to enjoy what they're doing, And I'm like, I could deal with that,
Yeah. Not too bad at all.
Let me sneak some cookies back to the room.
Right.
I would be taking the mozzarella sticks if they were available.
Yeah. That's like I said, now that we're back on the road, it's a little different, but still, like after TV, I go to my room, but I could see everyone getting ready to. He'll like keep a restaurant open late in the hotel and stuff like that. And so he's just the best boss ever. So,
are you guys coming to Jersey anytime soon doing the show?
We'll be here September 5th in the Prudential Center. So that was the show. So we were supposed to do Rochester and then Newark right before the pandemic hit. And I was super stoked because, of course, I'm from New Jersey. Wrestling in the Prudential Center was like a huge thing for me. And then the world shut down. So, but now we're coming back, I think, and I believe we pushed that show back twice now. I believe that all the tickets that someone purchased, they're all able to go. So we're at like 11,000 or 12,000 seats. Wow. So
that's great.
Yeah. So it's the more people that are on our show, the harder the real, to get on the show, right? But we do film so many other things. Like we'll do Live Dynamite, but before that, we'll do Elevation and maybe Rampage if. We're not live that week or something like that. So as a fan, you don't just get those 2 hours. Like in Charlotte a couple of weeks ago, we did 5 hours of wrestling, which is a lot.
That's long.
Those fans, especially after Dynamite, by the end, like they were still going crazy, So that was pretty cool because I think Charlotte was the death match with Nick Gage and Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
So you see all of that stuff. And then they clean up everything, and then you have to watch like an exhibition match. It's a little weird, right? But our fans, they don't care, And then Tony went out there and just told them, like, hey, this is what we do to help our guys get better, right? And we don't have a school, which is true. Like my school is separate from AEW. They might ask me to train someone individually, but we don't have like hey, these are all the hires that we just took, So he just told people flat out, like, hey, if you guys don't mind staying, you're going to see some great wrestling. And of course, we load the show towards the end with more stars, so that way we keep everyone's attention and stuff. But our fans are just the best. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So when you come out in Jersey, do you want us to cheer? Or you want us to boo?
Yeah, which one? I'm conflicted.
So I thought about that, and because Britt Baker was in her hometown the other night, and she's our world champion, and Britsburg, as they say, and the reaction was unbelievable because, of course, I mean, she's the hometown girl. Poor Red Velvet that had to wrestle her, who's like this nice baby-faced girl, was getting booed out of the building. And they kind of like had to figure out, hey, are we going to like switch roles? Like, what's going on? And I thought, like, man, what happens with me? And I said, you know what, boo me. I don't care, because the best thing about living in New Jersey was moving from New Jersey. You know,
Okay.
Realistically, I was selling tools, and I kind of hated life at the time. And then I moved to Georgia, and now I'm living my dream. So if you want to boo me, like maybe
So we got to boo 'em.
Okay.
Yeah, just
gotta-
boo me. You know. Plus,
Can we bring signs? Is that allowed?
we will never pull a sign. The other night, someone was advertising on TV, like right in front of the camera, and one of our production guys came up, was like, hey, blah blah blah, and Tony was like, nope, I told the fans we would never pull signs. So unless there's like profanity or something like that, like one of them was a local talent. It said AEW needs to sign this guy, and the guy was backstage, and I was like, hey Bill, you know there's a sign about you? He's like, oh my god, it's my friend, and blah blah blah. He's like, is he ruining it for me? I was like, no, it's pretty amusing actually, you know. It's like, it's a good way to try to get signed, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Any little bit can help.
yeah, of course, you know, you got to take every chance you can.
Cool. Well, thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely great to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, anytime I'm back in Jersey.
We're doing it.
We'll do it over food next time, please.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
100%.
I don't care what time of the day it is.
That's fine. I can eat.
AEW star QT Marshall. It's Mateo and Lenny with the B98.5 Morning Show. And thanks again.
Thank you guys.